Welcome back to the Story of Liberty. This is John Bona. Senator Colburn's waste book is more than just a description of the wasteful programs that our government has, but it's a documentation of the breakdown of government that we see today in the federal bureaucracy. In his book, he says there are three kinds of breakdown in government. It's simple incompetence. It's a breakdown in common sense and defined purpose. And the breakdown in the rule of law. Senator Colburn's Waste Book 2013, highlighting 100 examples of wasteful and low priority spending totaling tens of billions. Do you remember spending almost $1 million in the last few years on a website devoted to romance novels? No, I don't remember spending that either. How about the $17.5 million you spent on a whorehouse? A brothel in Nevada, or should I say brothels in Nevada? Or the $200,000 you spent treating record industry executives to a world tour? Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. Well, technically you didn't spend the money, but your government did. It was your money the government spent. Russ Walton put it right. He said that government is not a producer. It's a taker and a spender. Every dollar spent by the government is a dollar taken from the private sector, from the workers, from the investors. Every dollar taken by the government cannot be spent or invested by that private, productive sector business. Well, we have out-of-control leaders in our nation, leaders of factions over parts of society where they have gained influence, and they're forcing their agenda on the people without our consent. Just think of Obamacare, the healthcare law. It's a perfect example. Not one Republican voted for it. They spent $379 million at least on a website that did not work. How many more millions, tens of millions, are they spending to fix it? Oh, by the way, that is your money they're using. Romance novels, record tours, they're just a few of the dozens of wasteful, extraordinarily wasteful programs that Senator Colburn has outlined in his waste book. His book shows just how out of control the federal government has become in 2014. See, this entire report is worth reading if for only the experience of discovering example after example of the scandalous use of our money. And more absurd than that, none of which you've ever heard of before. Millions of dollars spent on why people lie on tennis courts, or the mating habits of a Japanese quail. Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. The State Department, they spent $5 million on custom crystal wine glasses for its embassies. Come on, man. $5 million on crystal wine glasses? What's going on here? Amtrak, I like Amtrak, but they lost $60 million last year alone just providing food service. Come on, man. And how about the $17 million just given to dozens of businesses to fund the creation of products such as salsa and Bloody Mary mix? Come on, man. Senator Colburn identifies more than $1 billion a year in Pell Grant fraud. Scammers posing as students who take the money from the government and run away somewhere. Evidently, the great Department of Education we have is incapable of stopping it. The waste defies common sense, and it redefines what the purpose of the federal government was to be. Look at the Department of Justice employees. They spent more than $600,000 last year to book travel by speaking to a live travel agent rather than booking their trip online. See, that's because the Department of Justice travel agency, they charge $6.49 to book a trip over the internet, and a whopping $31 to book one trip over the phone. In defiance of common sense, the Department of Justice employees use the phone 40% of the time and paid $31 instead of $6.49. Now, you and I wouldn't do that. It's because it's not their money they are spending. These are small examples compared to the National Technical Information Service. Did you ever hear of that agency? That service? Well, they charge other parts of the federal government to provide reports, which are largely available for free online. For example, the National Technical Information Service sells the Public Health Service food code to other agencies for $69 a pop. Okay? Well, guess what? That same document is available at no cost over the internet. Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. Well, in fact, as Senator Colburn revealed, the first result when you search Public Health Service Food Code on Google refers to the NTIS as the "let me Google that for you" of the federal government. This agency costs taxpayers $50 million. Well, there's also the breakdown of the rule of law. In one example, $30 million intended to restore the Mississippi coast was used instead for unrelated pet projects. Of course, it's public information now that one official allegedly directed millions of dollars worth of grants to entities associated with his family and friends. Need I repeat Obamacare again? They've spent millions building and promoting an insurance plan few people want and a website that doesn't work. Well, folks, it's simply not healthy for Americans to have a government at all levels extending its tentacles around the people, grasping more and more of American workers' money. See, there's a vast difference between you giving your money and the government taking your money. The government is not benevolent. And now, nearly $500 million later, Government put its shoulder behind promoting an insurance product that is not working. Obamacare is perhaps the biggest marketing flop in U.S. history. And here's another one that Senator Colburn brings to light. Did you know that in 2011, there were 312,000 federal employees or retirees who had failed to pay their income taxes? That was over $3.5 billion. More than a third of these people, over 100,000 of them, are current civilian employees, bureaucrats who have not paid their taxes and yet continue to be paid by us, the taxpayers. Evidently, these public servants do not feel that they have to live under the law that they administer. Folks, that is a breakdown in the rule of law. I could go on and on. Federally funded solar panels for the Boston airport. Well, guess what? It created a glare that blinded the pilots and the controllers. That was $3.5 million down the rat hole on that one. Well, Senator Colburn's report speaks volumes of the extraordinarily wasteful spending of government and how confidence in our government is at an all-time low. See, the hard truth is that we would rather just print money and borrow money than cut spending. What we need to do in this country first is determine the proper function of government and the improper function of government. And all those programs under the improper function of government need to be terminated or put to the private sector for bid. That is the only way we'll stop spending. Our Defense Department, you've heard about the hammer that cost $5,000. Well, how about the $7 billion that they wasted by destroying more than 170 million pounds worth of usable vehicles and military equipment? The military decided, and I don't know who made the decision for this, that they would simply destroy more than $7 billion worth of equipment. Come on, man. That's unbelievable. This is one of my personal favorites. Although it's not a big number, it's only 325,000. But the government study was made to find out why wives should calm down. Maybe you should get a copy of that study if your wife is not calming down. If your wife is so angry at you and you don't want her to stay that way, well, you might avoid passing along the findings of this great government study. Wives might find their marriage more satisfying if they could calm down faster during the arguments with their husbands, according to this great government research program. Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. One of the top insulting, the salt in the wound funding was the Fort Hood shooter. He continued to collect a government paycheck in 2013, while the families of the survivors and victims were fighting to receive military benefits. The Fort Hood shooter, Major Nadal Hassan, was cashing his paycheck. Hassan has received over $278,000 in military benefits. While NASA was searching for signs of intelligent life in Congress, they spent $3 million. Did you know that? They weren't exploring the outer space. They were simply trying to go to Washington and study one of the greatest mysteries in our age, maybe in the whole universe, how Congress works. How about the $65 million spent on TV ads after the Hurricane Sandy emergency? You might remember in January of 2013, Congress passed a bill to provide $60 billion for the areas that were damaged by Hurricane Sandy. However, instead of rushing to help the people in need, the state-level officials in New York and New Jersey spent the money on tourism-related TV advertisements. Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. Well, all I can say is that this problem that we have, the spirit of unlimited government, it cannot exist long with limited government in our nation. They cannot exist together for much longer in one nation. One will overcome the other. We must remain one nation under God. Or as Ronald Reagan said, we will be a nation gone under. Keep the faith, America. Don't lose heart. Hold your representative accountable to limit their jurisdiction to the protection of our God-given rights, not the limitation or interpretation of those rights. God bless you. Keep up the good fight of faith.